Hello, class and everyone else. Today we're going to play the game Guess That Color. Now I know this might seem like a simple game, but what we're really going to see is when we stop and think about color, what we actually see in the real world, we find some real interesting information, and that we need to be keen observers if we want to make good designs and if we want to make good drawings. Let me show you what I mean as we go through here. So the first color we need to guess is, what color is the sky? Now, of course, I think we all generally would say, oh, well, we know what the answer is. The answer is blue, right? Well, yeah, the answer sort of is blue. You're not necessarily wrong, but I also don't think you really capture enough of everything when we say that. So let's take a look at this. Here's an image. I took it in New Jersey at the beach so we can see the horizon. One of the things you'll notice is that there's actually a gradient of color where the color higher is a richer, deeper blue, and the color at the horizon is much more towards white. And so I can actually pull out the colors, and so I'm going to add these charts over here so we can begin to see the colors taken from this picture. And there's the top color, and there's the bottom color as described. But the other thing that you might note is actually how close to cyan or towards green that this color is. That actually it's a bit away from blue itself. I think that's important to know. The true color of the sky is not a pure blue, it's actually more of a cyan, and it does have a gradient across the sky. What color are clouds? And I'm sure you're tempted to say white, because that's what anyone would say. And again, you're sort of generally correct, but you're really limiting your possibilities. So, for example, let's take a look at these clouds. And yeah, in fact, there are some pretty whites in these clouds. But also we can see that there's also some grays in the clouds. And of course, the grays are the areas, the bottoms of the clouds, because they're in shade from the top portions. And we can even see that there might even be some blue tint to those shades as well, not necessarily a pure gray. But actually, this is not the only color clouds can be. So let's take a look at another image here. Now this is a sunset. What you'll notice in sunsets actually is the richness of colors often comes in from the clouds themselves reflecting light, not necessarily from the pure sky. So we can look at a few different colors here. So for example, there's some yellows. They're very, very bright yellow that makes it dramatic. A lot of the colors are sort of in the red and orange range. We can see those over there on the side. But there's even some deep purples, or I think those are really the shaded colors become deep purples in there that really set this sky to really be quite beautiful. And I just have sort of another image of a sky in here as well. Sort of, again, similarly at sunset. It uses very similar colors that the last one does, but in different ways. You know, we have a very contrasting trees against the oranges and purple clouds with the yellow horizon line. Really makes a great image. What color are trees? And of course, you probably want to say green. And again, you're not necessarily wrong, but trees, of course, come in many colors. So here's just one image of a bunch of trees, and there are lots of green. So for example, if I picked out this green, we can take a look at it, but actually when we look close, we actually look at that green hue. Look at how close to yellow it is. In fact, yellowish tone is actually what a lot of plant life looks like, and especially in spring, especially when it's more vibrant. That said, there are different tones of greens in here, so we can look at this green and we can see that it is indeed darker. It's more towards green. It happens to be a different tree. And of course, this doesn't even account for shade and shadow that's happening in those trees. And we shouldn't forget the tree that's up front, which in this case is actually red in color, as some trees, especially ornamental trees, are. And just because most trees aren't red doesn't mean that a punch of red in trees here and there, or pinks, or whatever the color might be good. In fact, what I'm not going to show in this video, but I think gets the point across, is we know trees change color throughout the seasons. In spring, they tend to be more blossoms, which might have some whites or some pinks to them. In summer, we get mostly greens, but there's some deep reds like this. In fall, of course, lots of trees, they turn to bright reds and oranges, maybe yellows. They turn to browns in winter, and then in winter you might just have the brown of the branches themselves. So trees come in all colors, and they can all be used when you're making drawings, when you're making architecture, when you're making any kind of design. And keep that in mind. So take a look. see what color they are. Similarly, I can ask the question, what color is grass? And of course, most people are going to say green. But grass is very similar to trees. In fact, I think more so when this is a true sample from this image. Look at how yellow that grass is on the spectrum over there on the right. Grass can be very yellow, and people often when they make drawings, they want to make it too green. It just doesn't look right. One more question here, and it's the trickiest. What color are windows? Oh, of course. Is it clear? Is clear color? No, I don't think clear is a color. So what color are they? Well, I get lots of interesting answers when I ask students this question, but the correct answer, at least during the daytime, is that windows tend to reflect what the outside world is. So here I have an image of a glass wall on this side, and you can see that it's reflecting the sky. It's actually back here we have this stone wall here. This is outside here. This part is the reflection of that stone wall. We can actually see it right in the screen, and a building beyond. We can see the building beyond here and it being reflected in the glass over here on this side. Now the reflections, as you can subtly see in this image, they tend to be a bit darker than the real object. They also tend, I think, to lose a bit of contrast than what's being reflected. But if you're making a drawing or you're making a rendering, glass during the day is actually a reflection. Of course, at night things might change. So, for example, if it's at night and there's lights on the inside, then you're going to see what's inside, and it might even have a yellowish tint if the lighting in that room is yellow. And I could go on and on with examples, but I'm not really going to go into any more today. I think the important lesson I want to bring home is that colors aren't necessarily what they seem. If you want to be good at drawing, you need to be good at observing. So take a look at the world around you, pay attention to what colors really are, have a camera on your phone ready, whatever the case is, take photographs of them so you can use them in your work, and really question what many people think might be the right answer for colors is not quite right or has many other possibilities. And then once you start to learn that, start to apply in your own work. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. And while you wait for the next video, keep making great drawings and keep making great designs. Thanks.